Here we are. The very first one after the series of the Miriam series. So you'll forgive me, please, if I read from my iPad because I have something to say about this one. The first thing I've got to say is that I'm a failure on this one. What's the book called? What's the book called? The book is called The Cornish Wheel. And as I say, I'm a failure on this one. I will admit that right now in front of this camera. Because I had an idea and obviously I wrote the book. But clearly, from the feedback that I've received, I've not done a good job of it because not a soul has understood what my idea was. So I'm going to explain it here. So if you don't want to know what the explanation is, switch off now. Wait 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that should be enough. So here goes the explanation. Here goes the explanation. I'm trying to look at the camera. Here we go. I won't fill you in with all the details. These are the headlines only, because it's a reasonably long book. We have a young man called Jack, who lives in 1966. He goes to Devon, and he meets an older woman who lives in a cottage on the cliffs of Devon, apparently in 1946. Now he makes love to her, and then she dies. He takes over her cottage and lives there in 1966. Then a young woman visits him, and she's holding an iPad. Sorry, got it wrong. She's holding an iPhone, and they make love. Now, eventually, he dies, and she inherits the cottage. Eventually, a man will arrive from the future and will make love to the woman, and the cycle will repeat. The point being is that there is not many people in the story. There is only one person in the story, or rather one soul making love to themselves repeatedly, over and over again in a ghost story. That's about as clear as what it can get, and about as bizarre as what it can get, because it's about reincarnation. I told you it was bizarre. And surprise, surprise, if you follow the AI voices, which is coming soon, you will find that they are not intelligent enough to pick up on the subtlety or the weirdness of the story. So they've got a little way to go yet. Enough said. So I hope you enjoy the voices. But remember, they don't pick up on the strangeness of this story. Here we go.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive. And today, gosh, we are plunging into something, well, truly extraordinary.
We really are. We're looking at excerpts from a novel that starts out as what you might think is a dark domestic drama set in the mid-60s.
Right, a convalescence trip to Cornwall sounds quite straightforward.
Exactly. But it spirals into this dizzying examination of guilt, of time, and the astonishingly porous nature of reality itself.
And our listener, who I think had a bit of an existential moment after reading this, has asked us to really get to grips with the, and I'm quoting here, astonishing and disturbing implications at the very end.
Yes, they felt it didn't just end the story, it completely unraveled the main character's world. So that's our mission today.
Okay.
We have to meticulously chart the emotional landscape of this story, which starts in a really toxic place. And then we've got to track two separate narratives, one in 1965 and another decades earlier in the 1940s.
And see how they collide.
Precisely. How that intersection just irrevocably changes the life of our protagonist, a young man named Jack Weber. We're following the breadcrumbs.
And the setup is just so pertinent, isn't it? You have this broken family seeking refuge on the wild Cornish coast, only to find that the past isn't just something you remember.
No, it's a physical destination you can walk into.
A destination complete with a beautiful and ultimately doomed resident waiting for him. Right, let's get into this. Let's start with the baggage they bring from London. So we begin in 1965, London, and the emotional atmosphere is, well, it's properly toxic, isn't it?
It's glacial. The source material paints a picture of this household just paralyzed by misery. It all centers on 3 people.
Let's start with Laura Beaumont. What's her situation when we first meet her?
Laura is completely trapped. I mean, the novel explicitly calls her marriage to Leo intolerable after his motorcycle accident.
An accident that didn't just confine him to a wheelchair. It seems to have unleashed something truly awful in him.
Oh, absolutely. He's become this demanding, hateful invalid, and she's his carer. But the pain isn't just coming from him.
No, there's this deep internal grief she's carrying as well.
It's profound. The text tells us she's been through all this heartbreaking testing, only to be told her body is, and these are the words used, enfeebled, barren, and fruitless.
Gosh, that's just a brutal way to phrase it.
It's incredibly cruel. And this is a source of this corrosive grief for her, which she tries to manage with regular sedatives.
So she's just trying to numb everything.
Exactly. The source even says that the death of her parents was like a mild headache compared to a migraine when you put it next to the pain of not being able to have a child.
Yeah.
She is emotionally collapsing.
That makes her incredibly fragile, but also, well, it makes her ripe for a change, for breaking free, even if she doesn't know it yet.
That's the key. Now let's turn to her younger brother, Jack Weber. He's 19.
And he's a mess. Shy, clumsy, profoundly depressed. The book says he trips over imaginary raised pavements.
He's the emotional sponge in this house, isn't he? He's soaked up years of bullying at school, and now he gets it constantly from his brother-in-law, Leo.
He's the collateral damage of their poisonous marriage.
Completely. And the reason they're even going to Cornwall is because of this trauma he's just been through. He saved a child on a frozen lake in London.
But it wasn't some heroic act that boosted his confidence. It was just desperate and terrifying.
Terrifying is the word. He nearly drowned in this oil-covered lake. And then, to make matters worse, the youths who caused it all, who are on LSD, they turned on him.
So he's got this combination of near drowning, violence, and all his existing anxiety. It's no wonder he's in such a fragile state.
And the only reason he seems calm on the surface is because he's still on his tablets. He's a pressure cooker.
And the person turning up the heat is Leo Beaumont.
The architect of all this misery. He's in his wheelchair, just consumed by this paranoid jealousy about Laura's fidelity.
A paranoia that, tragically, ends up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It does. And his cruelty to Jack is just systematic. He waits until Laura's out of the room. It is pure psychological warfare.
We really need to underline how vile the threats are, because they explain so much about what happens later.
They do. He threatens to cut off all the money, to make Laura destitute and die.
He threatens to get Jack sent into the army, specifically saying where you certainly would be killed.
But the worst one, the most abhorrent, is the threat to have his parents' grave dug up and reinterred.
It's emotional blackmail of the highest order, just pure evil.
The text calls it a form of torture secretly continued. It's just Leo venting his rage at his own body, his own situation, onto the easiest target he can find.
And so this emotional powder keg, Jack, is taken out of London and plonked down at Kelynek Farm in Pendeen.
A huge culture shock. They're staying with Laura's uncle Clarence, who's kindly enough, and his wife, Elowen.
Who is? Not so kindly.
No, she's a local woman who married Clarence for his money and is incredibly snobbish. She's openly disdainful of Laura, judging her city clothes and her manners.
So even this escape is still laced with that human nastiness Jack is so desperate to get away from.
Which is exactly why he immediately seeks solitude. He just runs for the moors, for the cliffs of Pendeen. He needs an escape.
And that search for peace leads him directly to Westrock Cottage.
And to its very unusual resident, Jacqueline Light.
She's described as a famous, wealthy artist and writer, but she's living like a recluse.
By choice, yes. The text says she's seeking refuge from her own troubled past and considerable guilt. But the isolation isn't just social.
It's historical, isn't it?
Absolutely. This should be the first massive clue for Jack and for us. Her life is completely without 20th century amenities. No electricity, no running water, not even a telephone.
She's getting water from a rainwater barrel. It's like something out of another century.
For Jack, coming from 1965 London, it's jarring. But he just rationalizes it away. He thinks she's just eccentric.
Our source notes point out that her whole life is locked into a wartime or even pre-war ethos.
It's more than an ethos, it's a fixed point in time. She lives by the make do and mend philosophy. When she goes into the village, she changes into a plain green utilitarian article bought in 1941.
A utility dress, that's a very specific detail.
It is. She's actively trying not to look like she's not aware the war was over. She rides an ancient safety bicycle. The author is layering these material details to show us her world is literally locked in the 1940s, long before Jack has any conscious idea what's happening to him.
So the escape he's so desperate for isn't just a change of scenery.
It's a change of decade.
Okay, so the seeds of this temporal confusion, they're sown right from Jack's very first visit to Westrock.
They really are.
He finds the cottage, and the first thing, the very first real clue is that it is, and I quote, curiously absent from his ordnance map.
It's just not there. On an ordnance survey map, which, I mean, that's about as factual a document of the terrain as you can get.
Right, that should be a massive flashing red light for him.
Yeah. A huge one. But he is so instantly smitten by Jacqueline, by her singular symmetrical beauty, that he files it away. He dismisses it as some kind of local surveying error.
Because he wants this place, this person, to be his refuge. He needs it to be real.
Yeah. Desperately. So he rationalizes away all the other oddities, too. The bare kitchen floor, the oil stove.
And the clothes, that sky blue utility dress. Again, that points so heavily towards the rationing period of the 1940s.
And she's a children's author. She gives him a signed copy of her book, The Happy Butterfly.
But even their conversations seem to gently nudge him towards the impossible, don't they?
They do, very subtly. They talk about local mysteries, about time, and Jacqueline tells him about a local girl who was convinced she used to be a fisherman in a past life.
So she's basically saying that these sorts of strange occurrences, reincarnation, time slips,
yeah,
they're an accepted local possibility.
Exactly. It gives him a sort of comfortable, if rather strange, framework to put his own growing confusion into. It makes the unthinkable seem merely eccentric.
And that confusion really starts to ramp up. His experiences begin to consistently place him in the wrong decade. It goes beyond her cottage.
It does. The whole environment starts to shift. But the pivotal moment, the undeniable proof for him, comes at the church dance.
Right. The scene is so important. It moves the anomaly from being just Jacqueline's personal choice to the reality of the entire town.
He goes with her to this function in Pendine. And every single person there is dressed, unequivocally, in 1940s fashion. He has walked into a complete time warp.
And it's not just the clothes. The whole social environment is from 1946.
That's the fascinating bit. He sees a man he knows, Colonel Hoskins, the same man who'd recently taken him on a hike in 1965.
An acquaintance of his Uncle Clarence.
The very same. But here, at the dance, the Colonel is dancing upright and proud, and, crucially,
he doesn't recognize Jack.
Not at all. To everyone in that hall, Jack is a stranger. He's an outsider in 1946.
And then there's the minister.
Yes. He's introduced to the minister, a Reverend Grennan. But Jack knows for a fact that the current minister in 1965 is a Reverend Brown.
So he's literally meeting the ghosts of the past. A whole village of them going about their Saturday night.
And they just see him as some strange young man, maybe dressed a little oddly, from out of town. The sensory details lock it down, too.
The streetlights.
Exactly. When he steps outside the church hall, he notices there are no streetlights. But he remembers seeing them there, in that exact spot, just a few days before, when he was in his own time.
So the past is fixed. It doesn't have the modern upgrades. The environment itself is reverting.
It proves it's not a hallucination. It's not just in his head. The whole environment, the fashion, the faces, the infrastructure, it's all locked into a very specific point in the past, probably 1946.
It's as if Westrock Cottage isn't a time machine, but more like a doorway. He steps through it and he's just superimposed onto this past reality.
That's a great way to put it. The past reality accepts him as a temporary presence, but its own rules are absolutely fixed.
But here's a question. If he's physically in 1946, why aren't people more shocked by his 1965 clothes?
That's a good point. The novel doesn't make a huge deal of it, but his clothes, a tweed jacket and trousers, probably simple enough not to be too jarring. The bigger point, I think, is his psychological state.
Right.
He is so desperate for this escape from Leo's abuse, from the vile and wretched stealthy treatment, that when this beautiful, kind woman appears in this idyllic spot, he just accepts it. He needs it to be true.
His own trauma makes him receptive to the impossible.
It does. And in 1946, he's a blank slate. He can be the confident man that Jacqueline sees him as. The foundation of his recovery, his newfound courage, is being built on this temporal lie.
But the emotional truth he's getting from her is completely real.
Profoundly real. He needs this fantasy to survive the reality of Leo.
And speaking of Leo, that reality is about to come crashing back in. So this slow, almost gentle drift into the past that Jack has been experiencing is about to be shattered by something very real and very violent from 1965.
Yes. The status quo collapses. Laura, who's been pushed to her limit by Leo's paranoia, has a very brief affair with the chauffeur, Jim Potter.
And as soon as Leo finds out, he arrives in Cornwall.
And he is incandescent with rage. Physically, he's pitiful on his crutches, but his personality is as monstrous as ever. He finds Jack alone and just unloads on him.
He goes for the deepest wound, doesn't he? Calling him a Nancy boy.
He does. It's pure vitriol, and it triggers his confrontation right at the cliff edge.
The source describes Jack wrestling with himself, wanting to hit Leo after years of abuse, but stopping himself because he's in a wheelchair.
And then, in the next moment, Leo goes over the cliff. Jack's account is chillingly ambiguous. He says Leo was laughing, and over he went.
And he insists to Laura, I did not push him.
The ambiguity is deliberate, I think. Was it murder? Was it a taunt that went too far? An accident? We never really know. But what matters is the result.
Leo's death, it's the catalyst.
The ultimate catalyst. It purges the poison from their lives. But the trauma of it, the sheer horror of witnessing it, causes Jack to collapse. He sleeps for 16 solid hours.
A complete system shut down, a reset.
It is. He needed it. And when he wakes up, he is a changed man. But his focus is singular.
He has to see Jacqueline.
Immediately. It's as if he needs to anchor himself back in the other reality, the only place he's found any comfort or strength.
But he doesn't ask for comfort. He asks her for something very specific.
He asks for a calendar. He needs objective proof. He has to know.
And this is the moment. The gut punch that ends all his rationalizations.
It is. He looks at the calendar and it reads, March 1946.
Gosh, so all those little oddities, the utility dress, the lack of taps, the missing streetlights.
It all clicks into place with horrifying certainty. It's not eccentricity. He's been living in the past. Literally. He finds it, the book says, more than ridiculous. And then just horrifying.
And then the real-world corroboration comes in, and that just cements it.
It does. His uncle Clarence confirms everything. Jacqueline Light was a real person, a celebrated artist who lived at West Rock.
What?
But she died and was buried locally years ago. The 1965 vicar, Reverend Brown, confirms that his predecessor, Reverend Grennan,
The man Jack met at the dance.
the very same, knew her well and that she was found dead years back. Jack had actually asked the vicar about West Rock earlier and been told it was abandoned and haunted.
So he just fell in love with the ghost. And the physical evidence backs it up too, the book.
Yes, the happy butterfly. Uncle Clarence owns an identical copy he bought for Laura when she was a girl. And it's signed by Jacqueline in 1943.
So her life, her death, it's all a matter of historical record. His reality just completely collapses.
Which brings us to the truly disturbing implication of this whole love affair.
Right.
His newfound confidence, his first love, his first sexual experience. The very things that gave him the strength to finally stand up to Leo.
It all came from a woman who is, for all intents and purposes, a ghost.
A ghost stuck in a historical loop. The entire village he visited, the dance, the people, it was all just a moment in time, replaying itself, entirely separate from 1965.
What a profound irony. The foundation of his newfound courage is metaphysically unsound.
Completely. The transformation, his uncle later notes, this turnaround of insecurity and self-doubt, was built on a temporal delusion.
He fell in love with a moment in time, and now that moment is gone.
It's immediately closed off to him. He goes back to the now derelict West Rock, hoping to see her one last time and to step back into 1946. But he knows instinctively that the door is closed.
The affair served its purpose.
It healed him. But now he's left with the confidence, but also with the chilling knowledge that it came from an illusion. And he has to face 1966 as a new man, built on the scaffolding of a beautiful dead past. It's remarkable, really. Despite that profound reality-shattering shock, both Jack and Laura managed to move forward.
Laura inherits Leo's estate, which gives her financial independence. She goes back to London a completely different woman.
The source says she feels lightened, that the memory of Leo had finally faded. The source of all that toxicity is just gone.
And Jack's transformation is even more dramatic. He goes from that shy, clumsy boy to a confident man.
He does. And he uses the money Laura gives him to buy the derelict West Rock cottage, the one that's still abandoned and rumored to be haunted in 1966.
Which is a huge symbolic act, isn't it? He's choosing to build his future on the very spot where he communed with the past.
He is meticulously rebuilding it.
Yeah.
Putting in running water, electricity, all the 20th century things that were missing when Jacqueline was there. He's trying to make his realities solid.
Trying to pin it down.
Exactly. His uncle Clarence even comments on the astonishing turnaround, the shift from insecurity and self-doubt to this determined, competent young man.
So everything seems stable. It's the spring of 1966. Jack's working, he's independent, he's even growing his hair long, he's found his feet.
It could have ended there, couldn't it? A sort of tragic but ultimately redemptive story about a love that transcends time.
But it doesn't end there. And this is where we get to the core of what our listener wanted to understand, the astonishing and disturbing implications.
The final twist. A year has passed, Jack is settled, he's outside unloading vegetables from his bike, and a new visitor arrives. A young woman named Jackie.
How the contrast with Jacqueline is just so deliberate.
Oh, completely. Jackie is the absolute pinnacle of 1966 London fashion. Mini skirt, bright colors, complex hair, thick makeup. She's loud, urban, and modern. She says she's knackered.
She is everything Jacqueline was not. She's the present, or even the future, crashing into this place of the past.
And then comes the moment that breaks everything. Jackie pulls out an object. She calls it her phone.
Described as a small and highly reflective, thin, oblong box.
And she's waving it around, complaining, can't get a signal here at all.
In 1966, complaining about a signal, Jack is completely bewildered. He thinks it might be a compass.
He takes it from her, looks at it, and he sees a word inscribed on it.
iPhone.
And that single word just shatters everything he has built.
Let's really break down the horror of this. The experience with Jacqueline, with the 1946 loop, was shocking. But it was stable.
It was stable. It was a fixed moment in time that he could enter and exit. It had rules. When he saw that calendar, he understood the game. Westrock was a portal to a fixed point in the past.
Shocking, but within the logic of the story, it was comprehensible.
Exactly. The iPhone changes the game entirely. It means the temporal flow isn't a neat loop. It's not just backwards looking. It is utterly chaotic.
He's not just visiting the past. The future is now visiting him.
And this is the ultimate implication, isn't it? Westrock is a chronic temporal focal point. The timeline there isn't fixed at all. It is unstable and porous, and it's open in both directions.
It's a nexus, and Jack is just living in the middle of it.
And the shock throws him into this immediate physical and mental crisis. The book says his world turns crimson. He staggers. It's a psychic echo of his near-death experience in the frozen lake.
So all that hard-won stability, the confidence he built by resolving his past and finding love with Jacqueline.
It is instantly invalidated. The impossible truth is that time itself is meaningless at Westrock. His courage, which was built on the foundation of a fixed, beautiful past, is destroyed by this incomprehensible, unstable future just walking up his path.
That line, can't get a signal here at all, is just devastating.
It's the most terrifying line in the novel. It's such a banal, modern complaint. But for Jack, it's the sound of his reality, his sanity, crumbling to dust. He's right back in that state of existential fear.
He escaped one form of torture from Leo, only to find himself trapped in another, far more cosmic one.
He is a hostage to the shifting temporal currents of his own home. His peace was just temporary. So what we're left with, really, is this story of a profound, almost tragic transformation. Jack escapes years of trauma by falling in love with a ghost in a time loop.
It works. It genuinely heals him. He becomes the master of his own life.
But the cost of that healing is the final realization that his reality is perpetually under threat, not just from the past, but now, violently, from a future he can't even begin to imagine.
He's a man who finally took control, who physically rebuilt a derelict cottage with his own hands to make it real and present, only to discover the very ground beneath his feet is made of shifting time.
The courage he found in that past ghost loop is then confronted by a visitor from another century complaining about her phone signal. It suggests something quite terrifying about the human spirit, doesn't it?
That even if we conquer our own personal demons, our sanity is still completely hostage to the rules of the cosmos. Or, in this case, the complete lack of rules.
And that's the most disturbing part. It's not the time travel itself, it's the randomness of it. Jack isn't the chosen one. He's just an unlucky resident of a geographical anomaly. Yeah. His life is now defined by the unpredictable intrusions of other times.
So we'll leave you with this to think about, to sort of mull over. Jack found true love and real confidence in 1946. Does the fact that Jacqueline was temporally displaced make her any less real?
Or her impact on him? any less valid than the arrival of Jackie from the future, who now stands in the same spot, searching for a signal. Is a love found in a fixed historical loop more durable than a random encounter that signals an unstable future?
And if time is just a suggestion in some places, how much of your own hard-won psychological stability is based on the simple assumption that the clock is always ticking forwards at the same steady pace? Something to contemplate, perhaps, the next time your phone loses its signal?